Hello there and welcome back to On the River. I'm your host, Joe Morgulec, and I'm happy to be here with you today, bringing you the latest in local news for the Blue Water area. We've got some fun topics to cover this week, including an update on the Bridge to Bay Trail, some interesting news about an increase in retirement among teachers, and some interesting demographic stats about the Michigan Reconnect Scholarship as well. We've got all these topics to dive into and more. I'm excited to be here with you today, and I'd like to get started with an update on the Port Huron to Mackinaw boat race. For residents of Michigan, especially those living along Lake Huron and its accompanying rivers, the famous Port Huron to Mackinaw race is symbolic of Michigan summers. As was the case with many events during the past year, the 2020 Port Huron to Mackinaw race was significantly impacted by the coronavirus pandemic, with the number of boaters being down around 50%. As organizers became more familiar with the virus and what methods of protection were the most effective, they managed to find great success with their 2020 Bayview-Mackinaw race. With this previous long-distance race as a positive example for how to maintain a safe and memorable event, organizers look forward to building on that success in this year's Port Huron to Mackinaw race. Already, registered voters are over 130, with an expected number of racers close to 200 for the year. Border closures as a result of the coronavirus pandemic in 2020 limited racers to only participating in what is referred to as the shore course, while this year, with borders having been opened once again, racers will have the opportunity to compete in the Cove Island course, which will take place on Canadian waters. Additionally, for the year, a new rating system is being put into effect, with handicaps that will allow dissimilar boats to compete with each other fairly. With the registered number of voters up significantly from last year and the borders being opened back up, boaters are looking forward to a successful Port Huron to Mackinaw race in 2021. Of course, boat races are far from the only thing being affected by the COVID pandemic. In fact, the ever-changing restrictions have posed such a challenge to teachers and other educators that the retirement numbers have gone up significantly. Just since August, the number of teachers retiring in Michigan has increased by around 35%. This figure does not include teachers with less than 10 years of experience who have chosen to switch careers, which makes it even more striking of a number, as many young teachers have moved on from the profession as well. All things considered, retirement is up around 40% for teachers in Michigan. With Michigan laws changing almost weekly, educators are having to work around constantly changing schedules, with some students taking their courses online, while others are choosing to go in person. These teachers are having to deal with an additional level of discipline, keeping students socially distanced and in masks, while operating under stressful conditions of uncertainty, often not knowing whether classes will even be held in person at all for the following weeks. With this stressful and ever-changing schedule, it's no surprise that so many people have chosen to leave the profession entirely. We can only hope that with time, educators and all parties involved will be able to rely on a more consistent and workable teaching plan. The virus has taken its toll on the American economy as well, and Michigan has been no exception. While many small businesses have gone under, many of those remaining have struggled to find means of income during the lockdown periods and face a great challenge in recovering from the pandemic. In order to assist with this effort, the Michigan Small Business Department Center is offering an information session for elected officials and partners. The objective of this session is to educate the involved parties on what services the department is providing, while also conditioning their confidence in dealing with the struggles of small businesses and building their trust in the department as a potential reference for business owners. Directors of the program will offer instruction on startup assistance, export assistance, and business growth resources. To register for this seminar, those interested should visit attendee.gotowebinar.com/register. In a further attempt to help Michiganders through the pandemic, financial relief for students has been offered through a number of scholarship opportunities and financial aid packages. The previously mentioned Michigan Reconnect Scholarship has sent out an interesting series of demographic notes for those who have applied for the scholarship. It has been reported that 67% of applicants are female, 2 in 5 are people of color, and nearly 4,000 applicants are aged 55 or older. Approximately 57% of applicants for these scholarships live in Southeast Michigan, and many Michigan residents have received aid through the Futures for Frontliners scholarship as well. Overall, the financial burden that has faced students for so many years has been lightened in the past year as these relief programs have come available. It is truly inspiring to see the ambitions of these Michigan students as they continue to take full advantage of the resources made available to them and pursue further education. Now for an update pertaining more specifically to our area, Port Huron and its respective school district have been finalizing their plans for several new trail projects. The Bridge to Bay Trail spans from Algonac to Port Huron, and these projects are a key element in completing the first phase of the regional plan. The project will ultimately result in a trail along the south side of the Black River Canal, beginning at Gratiot Avenue and heading west towards Holland Woods. As plans for the trail have gained traction, many people have gotten involved in the project, and donators have raised around $200,000. As the community's interest continues to fuel and inspire work and involvement on this project, we will continue to watch for an improvement or update on the plan. Now I'd like to share a public health alert from the St. Clair County Health Department. The department is reporting that St. Clair County is experiencing a rapid and concerning acceleration of COVID cases. Since the 20th of March, positive COVID cases have been up 20% in our county. The department is encouraging mitigation strategies like pre-screening for workers, social distancing, and mask wearing. There is at least one variant strain circulating in our community, which makes the virus more easily transmittable from person to person. County residents are encouraged to stay safe as we work through this increase in positive COVID cases. Lastly, for our local news this week, the Titanic model that had been kept at the Mariner in Marine City has recently been sold. The model will be moved to a museum in Pennsylvania, where it will be kept with other models made by the creator. The storied 1:48 scale model is an exact replica of the famous Titanic ship. The model is nearly 20 years old and took 7 years to build. The model, made by Fine Art Models out of Marine City, has been a trademark piece of artwork for residents of the city. If you have time and would like to see the ship, it will continue being displayed at the Mariner in Marine City until April 3rd, before being moved to its new location. That's going to do it for this week's local news. As you know, I like to end my On the River segment by talking about one of the freighters that you may see passing by on our beautiful St. Clair River. This week I would like to highlight Interlake's James R. Barker. The Barker was the first 1,000-foot freighter to be constructed entirely on the Great Lakes. The boat was built by the American Shipbuilding Company in Ohio and is named after Interlake's chairman of the board. The Barker was built in 1976 and is the third 1,000-footer in the Lake's fleet. The ship has a rated service speed of 15.75 knots, which is the equivalent of 18 miles per hour. Sitting at 1,004 feet, Michigan boat watchers know the Barker not just for her impressive dimensions and strength, but also for her signature two-toned horn, which quickly jumps from a higher to a lower pitch. The James R. Barker is a classic Great Lakes freighter. If you notice the ship passing by, I would absolutely encourage you to take a moment to check it out, and you may be lucky enough to hear the famous two-toned horn. Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of On the River. Today's segment was a bit more broad as we covered topics for the whole state of Michigan and not just cities in our coverage area. But I believe there was some valuable information to share, ranging from the interesting teacher retirement statistics to the relief programs and more. I hope you all found something of value to take away from the show this week. We're expecting lots of sun and good weather in the coming days. I hope you all have the chance to get out and enjoy it. Thanks again for tuning in. Once again, I'm your host, Joe Morgulec, and this has been On the River. Till next time.